about to head inside the fairy cave.
All right.
We are in the fairy cave and opened 1895. And this is a solution cave. 95% of all caves in the world are created exactly the same way. And normally they occur in limestone. It's one of the softest rock in nature. Just don't hit your head on it like you're almost hurt. You can step forward a little bit, make it a little easier. But limestone erodes quicker than most other rock. And how does it erode? Well, snow and rain drop on top of the mountain and it filters through all the decay that's occurred for thousands of years, plants and animals. Picks up carbon dioxide and forms carbonic acid. It's a very mild acid, and it slowly eats away at the rock. Now, some acid is stronger in places, so you get variations.
No. It's a nice one. I love you. I don't want to die.
So that's 70 feet up right there.
Now, so we are in the Eternal Tower, and when Mr. Darrow brought his oldest daughter to see the caves for the first time, standing in this particular room holding a candle, she saw it flickering on the walls and ceilings, told her dad she saw fairies dancing. That is how we got the name the Fairy Cave, and we've kept that till today. And the first 2 years, tours were done by candlelight, and then in 1897, Mr. Darrow put electric lights in the cave. Now keep in mind, this was the Wild West. We were the second cave in the entire U.S. to have electricity. Glenwood Caverns was the first. And they're in Virginia. A little more civilized back there, but I am amazed that Mr. Darrow took the time and money to bring the wiring all the way from town. And the reason we had electric, Glenwood Springs was the second city in Colorado to have total electric, and that was because Walter Devereux, who built the Hotel Colorado, wanted to have lights in his hotel, the only one in the west of the Mississippi. So he built a hydroelectric plant, and we were electrified totally and could provide electric to everyone in town. And a lot of people aren't aware of this, but Telluride was the first. We were the second, Denver came later. So nature has been very smart in realizing, if I'm going to keep those trees growing,
That's a root.
this is a good place to find moisture. Excuse me, I'll grab a couple of lights here.
Why was that here? Aquí podemos aprovechar cuando nos metamos
That goes the highest.
Really?
It'll go higher now.
This is the highest one?
Watch how high it goes. In 1910, he built an observatory with a telescope up there.
Oh man, that's
I found this out by reading a lot. I like a lot of it's still up there. If you take the Boy Scout trail, you'll actually can see the foundation. But actually, if you're going to take the trail, you really want to.
La story.
Mira, como dinamita.
See where the lights take us? I've learned a valuable lesson in this room when I turn the lights out, so I like to get in front of this. 1 candle, 10 candles doesn't do a lot of difference. Would you agree the first 2 years they didn't see as much as you're seeing now?
Yeah.
And think back to what we just saw back there. That's what it would have been the 1890s lights. And of course, when you're caving with a candle, your main concern is looking down to see where you're going or where you're crawling. So you don't really pay attention to the ceiling, but when the lights are on the ceiling, it does show so much more of the cave. Now, a little lesson in bureaucracy, folks. We had to turn in a variance. It was over 50 pages of how we were going to open the cave without harming people. And one of the things we told about how we blow the candle out in this room, and they said, you can't do that. So I had to buy a candle snuffer. Anyhow, what I want to show you now, this is on every wall of the cave, not just in this room, but you cannot see it with the naked eye. And you can see it with an ultraviolet light. This is microbes, bacteria, and algae. And it's everywhere. Which again, we've been doing for the last 8 years, is totally underneath us, but we can't do it this year. But if you come in a little bit back of the room.
Well, I'll be signing up for this interview.
And that's how you get to another tour.
Keep in mind, it's quite obvious, isn't it? You get dizzy. It's just too steep. Not only that, but there's a lot. I know it's not as comfortable. This is a pretty large crack, and more water comes in here. And
Is that from rain?
that's rain and snow, you know, over the years, but it's come down 80 feet. It's through the rock.
Do you know how long it takes from that water to go?
Just look at this.
Oh man.
And there is the original cave entrance right there.
That's how we got it.
And that's the cave tour for the fairy cave. That was really impressive. Highly recommend it.
I know.
Time now for the King's Row tour. So we already did the fairy one. Now here's the second one. And here we go.
Or I love grabbing sushi. There's most of the time. Some grab fried rice when you're. Thank you.
I'm gonna become an expert
So this is a pretty massive room for the state of Colorado. Amongst the caves in the state, we have a nickname. We call it Crawlerado because most of the time you're stooping and crawling. Rarely do you get to stand up, let alone in a room of this size. The reason it's so big is because of hot springs or geothermal energy. 2 million years ago, hot springs water was in the cave, carving out the holes or passages we're inside of today. And that hot springs introduced an incredible amount of iron. That's why you have the oranges and reds on the walls and ceiling. It makes cave pretty colorful and also allowed a bacteria to survive called a chemolithoautotrophic. These guys eat rock. They break down the mineral iron and they create glucose or sugar. When they're done with that process, they'll leave behind this stuff here. This reddish brown, somewhat porous substance, it's called limonite. It's made of iron oxide or rust, and it's essentially bacteria feces. In fact, I do have a dragon's eye staring at you right now. His name's Grotto. He's a good friend of mine, and he does like visitors to come with gravity. They're kind of going to the right. That's due to airflow. See, in most cave systems, air comes from larger passage to smaller passage, in this case, stretching out the formation. So as a professional caver, I'm always looking for this stuff. If I follow against it, there's a pressure change, so that carbon dioxide releases. Kind of like when you open a soda pop, makes that really cool fizz noise, just on a smaller scale, allows them to make a stalactite, or splashing to the ground, building from the bottom up for a stalagmite. My favorite formation to see over here, cave bacon. It's basically ribbon in larger size. Other cave systems will call this drapery or curtains. Usually it's solid white from that primary mineral, calcite. But here we have that hot springs influence, introducing that reddish-orange color, or iron oxide, making it totally look like bacon, so I gotta call it so. All these guys do take a long time to form, about 1,000 years for a cubic inch of growth, or about the size of your thumb. So that means the stalagmite down here, right around 15,000 years old. Now we do have 120 stairs to go down and back up.
120 steps. Let's do it.
Your time.
Not along the outside. And sometimes these straws do get clogged up. A fracture or hole will force the water around the outside, creating a combination stalactite soda straw, here what we call the cave carrot. Another few thousand years from now, might become a full-on stalactite like these guys. If cave splashes of water shows that the formation is still growing or is alive. And just behind me, the glowing Cheeto. And a fun fact for you is all these formations are indeed edible, made out of calcium carbonate, same thing that's in tums or antacids. Good, I'm gonna have to get the light pole just up there, making it look like the size of a barn. But now we know better. From up top where we started to this wall here, it's almost the length of a football field. We're only 15 feet short. We're gonna go and open that garage door. It's gonna make some fun noises. Don't get too startled. When did you go down the stairs? There's a... All the way down front, we're good. Hakuna Matata. Formation. Welcome to Kings Row. Questions? Exciting group.
How did you figure that's 700,000 years old? Like, what do you?
I carbon date the formations. So remove them from the cave and basically count the rings and basically study the mineral that's inside of them. Let me know what kind of rock is in there, so therefore I can get a better idea of how old the formation is. The light and then spitting it back out. Whole bunch of black lights down there, so I was able to get the room to glow so well. And my favorite photo of the room has got to be with all the lights on. I think that purple had some nice composition for that photo. Douglas. Cave jokes are deep.